With the success of last year's release of Resident Evil 2, it was a surprise to literally no one when Capcom revealed that they would remake Resident Evil 3 Nemesis. Both games are fan favorites that deserve the update, and after seeing what the team did with Mr. X, I think I speak for everyone when I say that we needed to witness how the stalking mechanics would evolve with Nemesis. But given the totality with which the RE team knocked RE2's remake out of the park, how could they possibly hope to top it with RE3? Well, the short answer is that they didn't. Now, don't take that to mean Resident Evil 3 is a bad remake. That couldn't be farther from the truth. However, while many of the designers' decisions helped to make the game better, there were enough niggles that kept RE3 from completely surpassing its predecessor. That said, this game is an absolute must-play whether you're a fan of the series or not. The first thing that really stood out to me in Resident Evil 3 are the visuals. It's not just that RE3 looks beautiful, it's the detail that Capcom has put into everything. That focus on detail in the graphics and animation is apparent throughout the entire game. From the viscera you see on each and every zombie, to how they've altered Nemesis' design to make him look more like a barely contained monstrosity, Resident Evil 3 nails just about everything it goes for visually. But this beauty pageant winner doesn't lack substance. In fact, in a few ways, the gameplay actually feels better than Resident Evil 2 Remake, depending on what you're looking for. For the most part, if you've played RE2, you know what you're getting. RE3 is, at its core, a survival horror game with a heavy emphasis on mitigating danger over mowing down zombies. However, Capcom has given you more in your arsenal that makes avoiding enemies much easier. Like the original Resident Evil 3, the remake lets you execute a perfect dodge as enemies close in. This version's dodge is also much more cinematic. For some people, this is going to be a net positive. You absolutely feel like the baddest chick in town every time you perfect dodge past a string of enemies, while Nemesis is breathing down your neck. And unfortunately, I think the improved dodging takes away from the game's main antagonist. In Resident Evil 2, Mr. X felt menacing. His constant presence in the police station filled me with dread. Nemesis, on the other hand, feels more like a nuisance. I never really felt in true danger when facing him. So, while his presence in the game is absolutely more explosive, and his threat isn't simply contained to one area, I didn't think he was as effective as an enemy as Mr. X. His design is phenomenal and the way he can arrive nearly anywhere is incredible, but your increased moveset makes him feel like a lesser version of what he could be. One big thing RE3 does better than RE2 is how tight the campaign is. Playing through two separate campaigns for Claire and Leon always felt a little bit weird. Their playthroughs are supposed to be happening at the same time, but it never really feels like that's the case. RE3 ditches the multiple playthroughs and gives you one streamlined campaign. Given the way it's structured, Capcom could have easily made a campaign centered around Carlos and filled the game out with filler missions. Instead, they've built a cohesive, action-packed journey that incorporates both characters flawlessly. Obviously, the focus is mainly on Jill, but Carlos' sections feel absolutely vital to the story. Speaking of Carlos, what a joy his sections are. While Jill feels incredibly powerful with her new perfect dodge skill, Carlos is an absolute war machine. He starts the game with an assault rifle which literally cuts down zombies to size in seconds. He also has his own version of the perfect dodge where he literally punches a zombie in the face to knock it away. Plus, Carlos' mission takes you to a fun area that is full of callbacks to past Resident Evil games. That being said, by making the game a tighter narrative, you lose a little bit of what made RE2 special to me. There was something my brain loved about being stuck inside a building and having to carefully plan my route through the police station to make sure I was getting everything I needed in the most efficient manner. That's not really necessary in Resident Evil 3. It very much feels like a linear carnival ride with much less backtracking. For some, that's going to be a big positive. Personally, I think you lose a little bit of the Metroidvania-esque fun that was present in Resident Evil 2. On the other side of things, it's important to talk about Resident Evil Resistance, the free multiplayer mode included with Resident Evil 3. Basically, this is an asymmetrical mode where one player takes on the role of the mastermind, while the four other players are various survivors. The mastermind's goal is to stop the survivors progressing through all three stages of the game within the time limit. They move through the environment by switching between different security cameras and can use different abilities to slow down the survivors. Masterminds have access to everything from normal zombies to several traps to super-powered bioweapons. They can also jump into their minions, taking control of the fight against the survivors. The survivors, on the other hand, are trying to solve puzzles and shoot through the hordes on their way to victory. As mentioned, the whole thing is timed, so you need to move quickly to win. Time is gained and lost in numerous ways though, so while speed is a key, you also have to play smart. Currently there are 6 different survivors, though Capcom has already confirmed that Jill is coming to the mode later. Personally, I've played most of my games as either Valerie or my boy Martin Sandwich. Each character has their own set of skills. For instance, Valerie has a ping that lets her mark items and threats, and a free health spray. Martin, on the other hand, uses his engineering skills to build mines and flashbangs. Because the mode relies on players working with strangers, it can be a bit frustrating at times. It's also currently very difficult to get into games. However, that problem will hopefully iron itself out when the game launches. That said, this is not the kind of thing I come to Resident Evil games for. It was a fun distraction for a few hours, but probably not something I'll be jumping back into. That isn't to say the mode isn't worth your time, however. There's plenty to do, and it would not surprise me if Resistance built up a solid community in the coming months. And Capcom has earned a bit of leeway given their recent track record. Even if Resistance isn't a complete hit out of the box, the game still definitely feels like something they would continue to build out over the summer. I'm certainly willing to give Capcom some time to see how they support Resistance going forward. I found Resident Evil 3 to be a bit of a tough nut to properly rate in a review sense. The game is an absolute treat to play with action-packed sequences, tense exploration, and a few genuine scares. However, from a survival horror standpoint, the game takes a significant step back from Resident Evil 2. But really, when you think about it from a thematic standpoint, that totally makes sense. In RE2, you're playing as a rookie cop or a civilian. Jill Valentine is the master of lockpicking and a battle-hardened member of STARS. It makes complete sense for her to have a few extra zombie fighting tricks up her sleeve.
Come on, you creepy-ass stalker! You want stars? I'll give you stars!
While I probably prefer Resident Evil 2 Remake ever so slightly, most of that just comes from Mr. X in the police station just being one of my favorite sections of video games in years. I would absolutely recommend both games and would not be surprised if a sizable portion of the fandom ends up disagreeing with me on their own personal preference. After all, it's hard to top the excitement that comes from jumping back into the shoes of Jill Valentine. Regardless of which you may like more, it is so refreshing to see the Resident Evil franchise come back in such a big way. Here's hoping Capcom can continue the momentum with whatever comes next in the Resident Evil series. For more on all things Resident Evil related, be sure to keep it tuned here to DualShockers and our website, DualShockers.com. Thanks for watching!